What's interesting, though, is there is another word for worship, which describes all the seasons of life where that's not happening. What do you do? Like we talked about a second ago, what do you do when you're not feeling the presence of God? You know, when you don't have that vision of him seated high above the temple. When you don't kind of see the smoke and see the angels and hear the voices, and you're just not in that place, but instead you're just kind of walking through life. Maybe it's just normal life where it's kind of distracting and it's difficult. You have to work really hard to kind of catch glimpses of the presence of God if you're really astute. Or maybe you're in a place where you just think that he's just left the building altogether. And again, the Psalms teach us that even in that spot, worship is possible. Doesn't mean it's the same kind of worship. It doesn't mean it's the same, maybe even quality of worship, if we can talk about it in those terms. But the Psalms are very aware that there are all sorts of places in life that will obscure our vision of who God is. It will make it difficult for us to see him, to remember him, to want to worship. Nevertheless, it's possible. The second word for worship that we see in the Old Testament is oved or eved. That word means to work. So the word eved is actually the word for a servant or a slave in the Old Testament. Somebody who does work. And this is a very common word for worship also. You do all of the millions of things of life in the presence of God and in the name of God, and that's worship. So we really have two very different but very important definitions of worship in the Old Testament. One is shachah, fall face down in response to the tangible presence of God. The other is oved, which means do the stuff, even if you don't feel like it. Continue to walk forward in obedience and trust, even when you don't feel like it. So the two words that I've kind of translated in my own idiomatic translation in English is we have awe, A-W-E, awe, and we have action. You put those two things together and you have a holistic life of worship. Awe when God walks into the room, and action when you feel like he hasn't.